The proposed 2023 budget for the Department of Transportation or DOTR has no funding for the service contracting or libreng sakay program, despite rising fuel costs. During the House Committee on Appropriations deliberations on the agency's budget on Tuesday, the Department of Budget and Management or DBM explained that the free ride program is not a regular project of the government. According to Maria Cecilia Socorro, abogado of DBM, the department needs to prioritize which among competing priorities of the government should be funded based on their assumptions. On to other news, National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA said that public-private partnerships or PPP under the new administration of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. will be balanced and transparent to ensure that projects will contribute to post-pandemic growth and recovery of the country. This is in line with the President's intent to source fundings from PPPs due to the country's tight fiscal space. NEDA Undersecretary for the Investment Programming Group Joseph Capuno encourages everyone to actively participate in this activity with the utmost consideration as this will lead to better and more affordable services for the Filipino people. The Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG reminded local government units or LGUs that they are prohibited from acquiring or using luxury vehicles for their operations. In a statement, DILG Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr. called on LGU officials to comply with budgetary, procurement, and auditing laws, as well as other regulations and standards. Secretary Abalos encourages LGUs to be economical in choosing vehicles as we are still in COVID-19 pandemic and such acts like buying luxury vehicles wouldn't be a good example to many. Meanwhile, in light of the increase in kidnappings linked to Pogo in the nation, the Philippine National Police or PNP wants stronger regulations placed on employees of Philippine offshore gaming operators. One of them, according to PNP Chief General Rodolfo Azarin Jr., is asking foreigners who want to work for Pogo in the nation to first obtain clearances from the National Police so it would be simpler for the authorities to conduct a background check. Moving on, President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. is eyeing to provide rice allowance for government workers, citing the need to ease their daily expenses amid the rising prices of basic goods. Marcos expressed optimism that rice prices might be lowered to 20 pesos per kilo in 3 years should the government be successful in improving the nation's value chain. Good news for our OFWs. Overseas Filipino workers can now look forward to working in Saudi Arabia again after the government decided to resume the deployment of OFWs in November. JC Ogaire has a full report.
According to the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW, overseas Filipino workers can anticipate working in Saudi Arabia once more after the government decided to begin the deployment of OFWs in November. DMW Secretary Susan Toots Oples said the government decided to lift the deployment suspension following the completion of an agreement with Saudi government guaranteeing the welfare and protection of Filipino home service workers or HSWs and other skilled employees. She also said the lifting of the deployment ban is expected to benefit thousands of OFWs aspiring to work in Saudi Arabia. DMW Undersecretary Bernard Olalia said the Philippines and Saudi governments agreed to revise the standard employment contract of OFWs. For Golden Nation Network, this is JC Ogaire.
Meantime, 371 inmates from 8 facilities of the Bureau of Corrections or BUCOR, including the congested New Bilibid Prison or NBP in Muntinlupa City, were released yesterday. Department of Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla said that the released inmates are either acquitted, had served their maximum prison term, or had been granted parole and probation as part of the agency's measures to decongest prisons. Aside from this batch of inmates and the 300 others awaiting for executive clemency from President Marcos Jr., Justice Secretary Muya said that its attached agencies would release more inmates in the coming months. State-run Pension Fund Social Security System or SSS targets to include more farmers and members of the informal economy into the social protection coverage as most of them remain unsecured. In a statement, SSS President and CEO Michael Regino said farmers and fishers are an integral part of the economy and yet most of them do not have social security coverage. Under the new scheme for farmers and fishers, Regino said workers would no longer follow the deadline of the regular contributions payment schedule. This program is designed to have a flexible contribution payment schedule aligned to their seasonal earnings and harvest season. This means that farmers and fishers can pay their contributions for any of the last 12 months in the current month. The lowest amount that they can pay is at 520 pesos per month. Up next, a news force. Makati City qualifies for performance bonus from national government. Lenny Robredo inaugurates new community learning hub in Angat Buhay Village in Albay. Philippine Space Agency warns public over debris from Chinese rocket. Stay tuned for more stories and reports when News Force returns.